Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's Next with V. This episode is part of the innovation series wherein we discuss about innovations happening across different sectors and figure out what's next. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Shabbir Lokhandwala. He's the founder and CEO of SLABS Engineering, kind of pioneers in the civil engineering space. We'll definitely get to know more on this podcast. But the fun fact is, he has been my childhood friend and classmate in Kuwait. I wish we can obviously speak about it in this podcast as well. I'm Vishal Ramaswamy, your host as always of What's Next with We. Shabir, jumping right in. Firstly, thanks for being part of this podcast.
Thank you, Vishal.
Great. Shabir, we've been classmates. I know it's more than 20 years now. More than 20 years, yeah. In Kuwait, obviously we had our schooling there. Obviously, it was an Indian school. There was competition. Like in India, it was pretty competitive out there. I think we played cricket together. We had a lot of friends. Had a good childhood. I think a very peaceful and quite a settled childhood. It would be great to hear your story from there to then coming to do engineering in Pune. From there, working obviously in the corporate sector and then starting out. So quite a unique story, Shabir. Would be great to hear. I mean, it's good for me also to catch up with you after so long. So good to hear from you.
Good to see you, Vishal, after such a long time. Obviously, in between, we had been having a few conversations,
Yeah,
but I think we haven't met so far. I think let's meet sometimes shortly.
absolutely.
So, I remember, I mean, firstly, thank you to you. And I think when this podcast would be released, a lot of our friends would be happy to see us again.
I
So, all
hope
our
so.
gang from Kuwait.
Exactly.
So, yeah. It was a good, I think, childhood memories we had back then in Kuwait. And certainly, life always, goes in circles. And my journey has also revolved the entire complete circle. Wherein, I did a part of my schooling. Then again, I came back to pursue my 11th and 12th. I was a very passionate science student. And then thereby, I did my engineering in Pune. And again, after completing my engineering in Pune, I landed up a job in Kuwait again with a renowned consulting firm, KU International Consultants. So thereby, after getting offer from them, I realized it's one of the renowned consulting firm wherein I learned a lot of high-rise buildings, designing, and a lot of complex engineering projects being executed at that point in time, way back in 2008. There was a very good boom in Kuwait those days. So I was really submerged into designing of a lot of challenging projects. Typically, all the high-rise buildings in Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE. I was a part of the team. It was a massive team, about 45 structural engineers then with KEO in Kuwait. So I worked there for about 2.5 years, and then I got selected with IIT Roorkee to pursue my master's in structural engineering. So I was really willing to do my master's to explore more in depth in this field of structural engineering and design because I was really passionate about structural engineering and design. I always wanted to explore the field to the highest level so that I can address the complexities in the practical field, etc. So thereby I pursued my masters, and then from masters, I did my again I joined a renowned consulting firm. Now the firm was the leading firm in the world. So I joined Arup. It's a renowned firm globally. It's ranked first. I worked there for about 1.5 years or so, and then I worked with a local consulting firm in Pune before starting my own firm, that is Slabs Engineering, way back in 2014. So I mean that's how my journey has been so far from Kuwait to Pune. So now we are all settled in Pune so far. Yes, Vishal.
Awesome. Hey, Shabir, great to hear your passion for science, right? I mean, all of us took science back then, and I think till now, everybody is still after science. but are super confused on what after, right? And I think great that you pursued what you liked, did your civil engineering, and then followed it by masters in IIT, right? So that it can't get better. Most of the engineers, I don't know, in our batch, like me, I mean, prime example is me, did engineering, but then topped it with an MBA and now in the business line. So good to see that you've actually become a proper engineer. So Sabir, having said that, I think your experience has been pretty impressive. Worked at a couple of large consulting firms in the civil engineering space. You must have seen multiple like prestigious projects being built, and that has kind of led you to starting out Slabs, right? I'm sure the listeners would like to know more about Slabs engineering.
Before talking about slabs, one more thing, I would like to uh, throw some light on. Basically, being a science student, I never acknowledge myself only as a civil engineer. I remember that in 12th, I was a topper in computer science. I was like programming, like I remember George Swami sir used to teach us. So his teachings were such a way that, I never opened the book, but still I used to score like 98, 99 by default. So sir used to make me sit on the last bench with Vinod and all the chaps, mischievous chaps, so that, I can help them in problem solving, etc. Then during my engineering also, I used to participate in programming competitions, coding, robotics, automations, typing, bridge making competitions for civil engineering, etc. So I had won almost more than 30 to 35 competitions and awards
Wow.
during my engineering also. So I used to pick up, any competition which is science based and which is, interesting for me, specifically robotics and automation. So I remember like we spending almost like 8 to 9 hours in some workshops, local workshops. We used to prepare some wheels, bushes on the lathe machines. We used to design the entire bot and program it, code it with remote controls, etc. So it was not a part of civil engineering, but nevertheless, I was so much inclined towards engineering and science that I used to love working on such kind of projects as well. So when I connect these dots with my profession right now, it enables me with all the skill sets that I've acquired. Because now coming back to slabs, what we do and how we are impacting the construction industry. So one major reason to start slabs was to do some creative work and change the way the construction is happening in India and the way engineering design is done and the services are being offered and delivered to the customers at large. So bringing international experience to the local domain and the national domain was one major thought. So we wanted to bring in the international exposure to the Indian context, obviously like at a lower price than what the international consulting firms are offering in India. That was the first thought. The second thought is when I connect all these dots with the acquired skill sets of robotics, automation, coding, civil engineering. So these days, whenever you're working in any particular field, you have to be masters of that field. That is must. Along with that, it's very much mandatory for you to have skill sets of other domain as well. Because let's say today coding allows us to reduce the repetitive task that we do in the structural engineering and design. We have automated all our tasks in our office, and that's how we can do a little bit more detailed engineering design, spending the same amount of man hours and do advanced computing, engineering analysis and design. So at Slabs, we offer services to our customers in very, very advanced structural engineering design services. The first major domain is precast, wherein the complete building is fabricated in the factory and assembled at the site like a jigsaw puzzle. So till date, we have completed more than 30 million square feet of projects.
Okay.
I mean, it's been like 15 years in the industry. So we have been designing precast buildings not only in India but also in Middle East, Singapore, Canada, etc. We have been like principal structural engineers to a lot of our potential customers, helping them in setting up of the precast plants, along with structural engineering and design, transferring the know-how of production, erection of how modular buildings could be built. Along with that, we are also rendering services in ultra high performance concrete, which is used for cladding panels. A GRC is one another material, glass fiber reinforced concrete. So that is another component of our services. Then 3D volumetric precast is another upcoming technology in India, wherein we have also received an award from our Honorable Prime Minister, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and a BMTPC under Asha India program. So we are the award winners of that competition as well. Then we are also, catering needs to our customers and latest construction technologies. One such as 3D printed concrete structures, wherein robots literally print almost 80% of the building and 20% is still hybrid, because we are able to print only one component of a material at a particular given point in time. So due to these limitations of 3D printing, uh, nevertheless, so this is one such technology wherein we are rendering services. So you name it, and we are rendering services in advanced construction technologies to companies across the world, right? So that is so far where slabs engineering has reached, and we plan to also start our manufacturing very shortly. So under this award from Government of India, we are also building a prototype house in Pune to showcase the technology of 3D volumetric construction under Make in India program, right? So this modular construction also involves us to know how the manufacturing is done. That means the know-how of mechanical industry. We use a lot of robots to manufacture the buildings at the factory level. A lot of automation is involved to optimize the production capability of a given factory to construct these buildings at the factory level. So somewhere down the line, I'm able to connect the dots. I mean, maybe, God has written this path for us, or so far, I mean, having acquired those skill sets from standard 12th, by God's grace, we got good teachers. Then in the engineering, I got some good colleagues with whom I participated in a lot of robotics, automation competitions, along with good teachers who taught us good structural engineering and design. And thereby, by God's grace, I would tell you that I've been lucky to ended up in KU International Consultants, because I'm coming from a very humble background. I've got no references, no contacts, no networks at that point in time. And suddenly, like I'll tell you the story, because we should really appreciate such kind of people there in the market. So opposite to my building, there was a vacant land. On that sunny day, so my father had called me on a visit visa. Daily, I used to go to all the companies. I had prepared a list of companies, and I used to go knock their doors and give my CV and apply for the job. In fact, I used to give them an offer. I'll work for you for 3 months in structural engineering and design. If you like my work, you can hire me. Otherwise, I will leave, not a problem. So one fine day, I knocked this door. There's a gentleman, Mr. Arun Ghosh. So I knocked the door. So was the project manager on that particular site. And then I knocked the door. I offered the same, my sales pitch, you could say, to sir. That sir, I've come from India. I love structural engineering and design. I will work, if you've got structural engineering design department in your company, I'll work for free for 3 months. If you like my work, then I would be happy to serve you. Or else, after 3 months, I could leave. That's not a problem. So he made me seated. He told, be comfortable. This is not how it works in Kuwait. It's an international company. So he recommended me to KEO, where his wife was actually working in structural department. So he gave me his contact number, email ID. He told me to shoot up a mail with the CV. So on the same day, I sent my resume, and ma'am passed on my resume to the HOD, and then they called me for written test interviews and whatever is the formal procedure. Luckily, I got selected. I signed all the offer, everything. Then the HR realized that I'm a fresher and I still do not have a degree certificate. So I had a provisionary certificate which I gave them, but then they told that, we are very surprised at how you are even selected without a degree certificate. But I had a very good recommendation. My results were very good in written test interviews. With all those accolades and awards I had won in my BTech degree, The HOD was quite impressed with the skills and things I had. So the HR told me that go back to India once you have a degree certificate. After a few months down the line, I will give you a formal visa, working visa, and you can join the company. So that's how I ended up KEO, and my journey started as a structural engineer.
Wow.
Yes, Vishal.
Awesome. What a beautiful story. I think Steve Jobs says, right? You can never plan your career. It's while you look behind and then you connect the dots, then a kind of a pattern emerges, right? I think couple of very interesting points that you mentioned. One is obviously connecting the dots. And I think the other one is passion for engineering. I think passion for engineering, passion for science. As you said, right? To be a successful person, I think you can't bucket yourself for one kind of engineering. You would need to know, as you mentioned, right? You need to know mechanical, you need to know a little bit of coding, you might obviously need to know the core subject. But nowadays, you can't bucket a particular engineer in one kind of an engineering kind of a domain. So I think good that you have been able to use multidisciplines across your journey, like from school to college, winning those competitions, and all of that has kind of helped you in kind of building slabs, right? So amazing journey, Shabir. I think this would definitely motivate uh, folks out there. I think with your humble background as well, I'm sure a lot of people would be able to relate. Most of us come from middle class backgrounds, work hard across obviously school, college, work your way up in corporate ladder, and hopefully by the end of, we all wish that by the end of our career we kind of reach a certain level. It's great to hear your story as well, from humble beginnings to where you are now. So, Shabir, moving on to my next, I think you have already done so much work in the civil engineering space. I think you mentioned precast, few things. I may not be able to even remember what you just said. So, it would be good to hear your success stories. I'm sure you have a lot of customers with you, especially with construction across the world and especially India, right? There's so much construction happening across infra, across housing, real estate. So it would be good to hear few of your big customers, what you do for them, and any present projects that you would like to showcase.
Yes, Vishal. So I'll take you through some of our ongoing projects, upcoming projects, and
Yeah, it'd be
uh,
awesome.
that we have been doing. So, I mean, to name a few of the customers, basically, we have been working with all the leading customers across India, be it Kef Infra, now lately known as Katera, to Godrej Properties, Adani Realty, Tata Projects, in fact, Lodha. So we have been working with a spectrum of customers, Embassy Group. We also did a project for Infosys and Electronic City in Bangalore, to Microsoft in Hyderabad. So we have been working on a lot of prestigious projects in India and globally as well. We have been working with a lot of leading precast firms. Last year only we completed Kuwait International Airport. That's one
Wow.
of
Okay.
the major projects being constructed in the Middle East right now. It's almost like more than $8 billion. So the entire facade and precast modular facade in JFRC has been done by us, right?
Wow.
So we were the principal structural engineers for the GRC facade. We worked with a local contractor and got the job done.
Awesome.
As you
Okay.
see on the screen, this is a mosque project in Mumbai in Bindi Bazaar. So this
Okay.
entire facade has been done by us completely in precast. So this is the entire property, and the entire peripheral facade is completely in precast. Right. So this is completely been done by us. Some of the site photographs, if I show it to you, so folks could understand better how the construction happens actually. This is a facade project wherein the complete facade is built in the factory and then
Understood. Okay.
assembled at the site.
Awesome. Okay.
So this is how the panels arrive at the site. So you can see some of the panels arriving at the site,
Okay.
and then these are erected using cranes at the site location.
Got it.
Right. And that's how, the final finished project is accomplished.
Awesome. So as a layman, I feel that the construction speed would be much faster than the other traditional way, right?
Yes, yes. So this is the actual finished photograph of the
Got
building.
it. Got it. Okay.
Right. So after completion, you would not realize And the life of the structure is almost 100 years. We have designed it for 100 years.
Wow.
Right. So
Okay.
this is one project of a kind. So this is Yenapa University. We completed this way back in 2015.
Okay.
We started our firm. So this was almost like the first, one among the first few projects which the client trusted us with. People could in fact see the live construction video on our YouTube channel as well. This entire building was constructed in just 4.5 months. Around 100 apartments, 1.1 lakh square feet of entire construction area.
Wow. Okay.
100 apartments. I mean, right from design, engineering, production, erection, finishing, fit outs, everything. So in the fifth month, actually, we handed over the keys to the customer.
Wow. This
So
was,
this is
as you said, this was 10 years back, 2015, right?
2015, almost 10 years
Wow.
back.
Wow.
So
Okay.
these are the actual finished photographs of the site.
Wow. Pretty good to see that in 5 months. It looks as good as any other building. So
Yeah. And there is no putty done on this particular project. There's no plaster block work. It's completely like compacted, cured concrete panels. You can see the finishing of the project. Only primer and paint is applied. So almost 90% of the building is completed in the factory environment. You can look
got
at the
it.
sharp edges. These are all factory finished.
Got it. Are buildings being constructed now like this, like most of the residential apartments in the country, or
Almost you can say like 40% of the precast buildings out of the entire construction segment in India. Construction segment in the India means in terms of building industry, not in terms of bridges. Bridges are more or less done in precast only. In
got
building
it?
segment, almost 40% is now catered using precast.
Awesome.
You see the finished room photographs. So you will not be able to differentiate between the conventional and the precast. In fact, the
Wow.
bathrooms are also constructed in the factory, the bathroom pods.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So, Jabin, moving on, I think we obviously spoke about precast, and as you said, 40% of the projects right now in India are precast, wherein it's being built in a factory outside, and you just come and assemble it. So, Shabir, would love to know innovations happening in this space. I'm sure you've been on the ground over the past 15 years. So good to hear innovations happening in this space right now.
And so, I mean, some of the key points which construction industry has been facing since last century. So almost if you look at the past 100 years, not as much of innovation has happened in the construction domain or industry as such. A lot of innovations have happened on the IT front, automobile industry, manufacturing side of it, etc. But in the last 10 years or last 10 to 15 years, you can say last decade, people have pumped in a lot of money for innovations in this construction domain. Also, we are talking about settling of humans on the next planet, right?
Correct.
So huge amount of investment, right from SoftBank investing almost more than $850 million in the construction startup. A lot of other companies have invested. So few major areas I would like to pinpoint. The manufacturing of buildings at the factory level is one such area where people have drastically looked at, which we call as modular construction. So we are moving towards making the buildings in the factory, looking buildings as a manufacturing commodity or a finished product. So this would be the next enabling step in the construction industry. Then involvement of robotics and automation at the manufacturing level to create these buildings. So this is one such area. Second area is digitization in construction industry is happening a lot. Be it creating of your drawings, virtual 3D models, AR, VR, building information modeling, a lot of other terms you can use, but in a way it is impacting the way digitization is happening in the construction industry. People are using specialized construction cameras to document the way the buildings are constructed, monitoring of the buildings during construction, holding contractors' accountability using such technology has become a norm these days. Then 3D printing is widely used, and a lot of money is being pumped in this technology to faster the speed of construction. I think people see this technology as an enabler to settle human lives on another planet. I think that is the long term motto as well. But definitely, we are creating a lot of prototypes in India, globally, using this technology. In fact, our company is also part of a lot of companies who are having printers, and we are doing structural engineering design for such 3D printed concrete companies. So we are also, part of such companies, and we are enabling them to print structures. So we are like a knowledge partners to them in the field of structural engineering and design using such technology. Then the next parameter is use of sustainable materials, because like we all want to reduce the carbon footprint. So a lot of material engineering is being carried out, and we all want to reduce the carbon footprint and enable the construction industry towards a sustainable industry. So that is one area of interest wherein innovation is happening. Then obviously IoT and smart building systems is one such tools which people are developing in the construction segment. Then a lot of AI is also used to understand the customer requirements, optimize the production, manufacturing capabilities, etc. So these are a few core areas wherein I would say innovations are happening in the construction segment. Yes, Vishal.
Got it. Got it, Shabir. No, good to hear that there is, as you mentioned, there's a lot of technology coming into construction industry, because construction industry has always been considered as traditional laggards in
Correct.
terms of implementing technology. And I think all the examples you mentioned, or all the points that you mentioned, all had technology element in some form or the other, like from using precast buildings, building those cars in the factory. Obviously, in factory, you'll have a lot of automation and robotics there, to digitalization of your processes, right? From your building management systems to all those AutoCAD drawings, all that is going to get digitalized. You mentioned IoT as well, smart building systems. So they're good to hear that finally there's a lot of technology being penetrated inside the construction
Industry
domain.
domain.
Yeah, so good to hear that. I think a lot of traditional domains are getting disrupted with technology, and good to see that folks like you implementing technology, because one thing is to have technology, the other one is implementing that technology in your work. So awesome to hear that, Shabir. Good that you're forefronting in implementing technology in your industry. I think if folks like you use technology, I'm sure uh, the ecosystem will start implementing technology in your space. Shabir, having said that, I'm sure this all sounds great. It all sounds rosy that you can obviously build the entire building in the factory. You can maybe take it from point A to point B, assemble it like a Lego block or like a puzzle, and everything seems good. But I'm sure, Shabir, there'll be a lot of challenges uh, in this phase. I'm not talking about precast, but challenges in the construction industry. So, in your experience, it would be good to hear challenges that you guys have faced and how you have overcome those.
So we're talking about technology is one thing, and then as you rightly mentioned, taking it to the implementation stage. So definitely, like customer adaptability is one thing. If uh, as I said that a lot of penetration is happening in the construction technology space. At the same time, the awareness and the customer adaptability is increasing nowadays. But way back then, when we started, and 10 years down the line, that was a major challenge to convince the customers to adapt to new technology for the betterment of the quality of a product. Wherein I say product, I'm considering buildings as a product. We look at buildings at an overall product. So convincing customers to adapt technology to enhance the quality of the product, to save time, I would say savings of cost, but in long term, wherein you can save maintenance of your building over the lifespan of the building, etc. So that was one of the challenge. Now, secondly, as a company, you know, hiring the talent is also a challenge who can really fit in this disruptive space, and at the same time for customers also to implement the technology. So finding the right talent who fits in and acquiring the talent or training a new resource to that capability is also one such a major challenge,
Mm.
because as you know, like we have India is a now globally we are highest in terms of population, and we are manufacturing engineers like a factory.
True.
But acquisition of the right skill sets with the right mindset, with the right attitude of hard work and intense innovations, etc., is was definitely a second major challenge, right? So we had to train the resources right from scratch, then retain them and transfer that knowledge from one talent to another talent and create the entire ecosystem. In fact, as an industry overall as well, this was a major challenge, right? So still it is, but now I think majorly it has been resolved because globally there has been adaptation to these construction technologies. India as well, there's an adaptation to these construction technologies. A lot of training institutes have started. Now colleges across India and globally have started teaching resources about these technologies at the academic level itself. So I think now gradually these talent hunting process is sorted out. So this was a second major challenge, I think. And definitely as a startup company, you face challenges in terms of operations, aligning your standard operating process, which is very dynamic in nature. So every project that we do brings in a challenge in itself. So all our projects are non-typical in nature. We do a lot of complex structural engineering projects. At the same time, the industry at large is changing very dynamically in nature. So you can never create a standard operating procedure in depth. At a broader level, definitely there could be a SOP, but then you need to dynamically change those SOPs over a period of time to adapt, the market segment overall. So operations is definitely a challenge. Yeah, and then
Got it.
as construction industry, the next challenge is supply chain, cash flow management, etc. So as you know, like construction industry is very, very cost sensitive. It's not like unlike other domains like IT is like a service industry. So service industry has a lot of profit margins, but when it comes to construction industry,
True.
it's very, very cost sensitive.
True.
So adaptation of technology and then keeping it to very, very cost sensitive and within those pricing limits is another challenge. So definitely we always say to our customers and our audience at large also that a lot of technology is available in the market, but whichever technology is solving your problem, you have to choose that technology,
True. Very
right?
true.
So as a company as well, we have selected a lot of technologies for us which is benefiting us, which is benefiting our customers at large, or either it is benefiting us to provide good service to our customers, timely deliverables, or good quality of service, or which is impacting our project at large. So we are adopting such technologies which is impacting our project at large.
Interesting. Very interesting points. I think one of those points that you mentioned on having an SOP but being flexible, right? I think you should have the
Yeah.
discipline of following an SOP, but at the same time be flexible in changing as per customers' requirements. And I think, as you said, costs, especially in construction, it's as you mentioned, right? In IT and maybe software product companies, it's much more easier to run your cash flows because it's pretty high margin. Whereas in construction, it's very difficult to predict costs.
Yeah.
And as you said, identifying the right technology for you, I think was pretty critical. Shabir, I think we spoke quite a bit about. I learned so much. Though I'm a newbie in the civil space, I love the construction space because it shows development of a country, right? So I look at it that way. I think the more we construct, the more infra we have in the country, we're always proud of it, right? So I think we spoke about your journey, Shabir, so far, touched upon what you do at Slabs, innovations happening in the space. Obviously, you mentioned the customers that you're working with, and then finally touched upon the challenges, right? So I think quite we kind of covered multiple points. Maybe just jumping on to my last question is what's next, right? I think you have pretty much worked hands from the grounds up in the construction space. You understand the opportunities at the same time the challenges. Would love to know what's next for Slabs Engineering.
So yeah, we have like much larger goals. I think we are celebrating our 10th years of operations this year. In 2024, we'll be completing the 10th year of operations. And the journey has not been so easy. A lot of ups and downs, lots of ups and downs. We have also hit a COVID wave. So
Absolutely,
being
yeah.
a startup in the first decade, you never expect that, you would be in that particular zone, because obviously, like, even the big companies and the smaller companies have been impacted. So we have seen all the tough times as well. A lot of learning experience along with innovations and technology that we are working in. So the bigger space that we are looking at it, we want to provide homes to people on a click of a button. Now, what I mean to say is, we want to disrupt this housing space. For example, today when you go to buy a car, let's say you go to buy a Mercedes car, you don't go to the Mercedes showroom and you tell him that I want to use this paint, this should be my door size, this should be my window size, this should be the specifications of my engine, etc. You go there, you see the model, you pay the money, you take out the car out of the showroom, and you drive way back home. But there's no customer delight right now when you go to build your house or buy your house. You have to deal with several agencies, like be it a civil contractor to plumber, electrician, the furniture guy, the painter, blah blah blah. Right. So for a middle class guy to a high income net individual, the costliest product that you buy today in your entire lifespan is a house,
True,
ranging from maybe 35 lakhs to 1 crore and plus and above.
true.
So we all don't have that customer delight, even though we are spending hefty amount of money. So we want to, bring in the customer delight in this particular space, that you order a house with us within 45 days, 45 working days, we'll give you the keys of your house. That is what we are looking at. I would like to quickly present to you, just a quick roadmap that we have prepared for us,
Wow, okay.
and it would be a very exciting one. So this is, way back like 2-3 years we have been working on this, and now we are implementing this particular roadmap with few investors going to come on board with us.
Great to
So
see, Shabir, great to see people say that the best ideas come on a tissue paper. Good to see that this is all handwritten on a whiteboard. Awesome.
right. So I mean, we did a lot of brainstorming as to how, our operations would be like. Our, you can see, a customer centric approach, right? So at a larger level, we are thinking about the customer approach, and we want to provide maximum benefit to him, customer delight to him when he wants to construct a house or buy a house, right? So in that aspect, we want to build homes for people on a click of a button. Let's say you can go online to a website, click here, pay here, and then within 45 working days, we hand over the keys to you. So we are creating a prototype wherein, people can come stay in our house for one day. You have a look and feel of the entire house, the quality of house we are going to provide you, the way we have built. And then, once the payment is done, the government approvals are done, within 45 days, the manufactured home as a product, as a commodity, will be manufactured in the factory, delivered to their site, and we would be happy to give them the keys within 45 working days. That's our target. That's the next vision that we are having, that we are working on.
It'll solve so many problems in India, I think, with the government as well promoting this, right? I mean, the government wants to provide a house for every family. I think the vision that you have might be part of that vision, right? I think the country's
Yeah.
vision is your vision in a way, right? So
Right.
awesome to hear that, and getting your house in 45 days is unheard of. I think if you can kind of implement this at scale in India, I think you've
Yep.
really solved a huge problem. Shabir, on that note, wishing you and the team all the very best. I think you're aiming super high, and I think if you really achieve your goals and your team's goals, I think you can solve a big problem for the country, especially a size like India.
Sure, Vishal. Thank you so much. It was good to hear from you and talk to you as well.